On a strict budget, new to cooking, here are 4 quick and easy meal preps that cost about $2 per serving. First up, we have fried rice, a classic budget meal. So we're using edamame for the vegan version and chicken for the omnivore version, but the rest of the ingredients are rice, mixed frozen vegetables, which are corn, green beans, peas, and carrots, eggs for the omnivore version, and that's about it. Of course, we have soy sauce too. First up, we're cooking the rice, and if you struggle with rice, we have a video dedicated to cooking perfect rice every time on the stove, so you should check that out. But I'm using a cup of rice with 2 cups of water and salt, and we're gonna bring it to a boil, cover it, reduce it to a simmer, leave it alone for 10 minutes, then turn off the heat and leave it alone. You cannot bother rice, that's the real trick. So just leave it alone for 20 minutes. Now we are gonna cook the chicken. It's always good to cook the meat first because then the other ingredients soak up the flavor from the meat you're cooking in the pan, which I did not know when I started out cooking, but now you know. So I'm just gonna cook it on each side until it's, I would say 80% cooked through. And then I'm gonna add in some soy sauce to kind of get that good flavor on it. It's always best to cook meat first kind of without liquid in the pan, because if you add liquid too early, it'll boil and no one likes that texture on their meat. So that's why we're adding the soy sauce later. Trust me on that one. And by the way, these are chicken drumsticks, which are, you can kind of cook any type of chicken the same way in the pan like this, just takes a few minutes. And if you're really nervous, you can use a meat thermometer to check if it's cooked all the way through or just cut into a piece. Then we're cooking our vegetables in all that flavor, just kind of tossing them with a little bit of salt and, the soy sauce left over in the pan. And again, this is super simple. You're cooking them until they're thawed out and just completely heated through. It takes about 10 minutes, depending on how frozen they are. And if we were making a fancier version, we would add ginger and garlic. I'm adding onions. You can kind of go crazy here with vegetables. You can use broccoli, cauliflower. There are so many vegetables you could use in this meal, but I love this peas, carrots, green beans mix. We're also cooking an egg really quickly. When making fried rice, you definitely want to cook the egg separately. Otherwise, it's just kind of a scramble. It's a mess. And there's our finished rice, fluffing it up. Looks perfect every time, I'm telling you guys. So we're adding some rice to the pan, just again soaking up that flavor. Of course, with regular fried rice, you probably want to use day-old rice. That's the best for it, but this works. I'm adding half the veggies and some cooked edamame, which I just boiled on the stove. And that's the vegan version, no eggs, just rice, veggies, edamame, and all that good flavor. And then the next one we'll do, it'll have chicken in it. So these can last about 4 days in the fridge, and they're freezer friendly for up to 6 months. How long it lasts in the freezer depends on how you store it. So the less air you get in your containers, the better, the longer it'll last. You can reheat this on the stove or in the microwave, totally up to you. And that's it, super easy. I know this meal is a little bit like you're taking stuff out of the pan and putting it back in all the time, but you're really only dirtying one pan, and that's why this is so easy. This was probably my favorite meal of all 4 of these. By the way, other meat you can use here would be beef, shrimp, salmon, ground turkey, ground pork, or whatever kind of pork you like. This is a super versatile meal prep. And that's it, there she is, looking good. Could probably eat this every week, to be honest. All right, meal number 2, chicken noodle soup, which is surprisingly easy. We are using carrots, onions, more of the drumstick chicken that I had, some egg noodles that I found really cheap, more frozen vegetables, and bones from the chicken. So the chicken that I bought had bones in it because I knew that I wanted to make stock for this soup. Again, this comes with careful planning. You of course can just buy regular chicken stock out of a box. You can just use water, you can use veggie broth, but I wanted to make the stock. And those are all the scraps from the vegetables that you just saw. So I am here really stretching my ingredients as far as I can go. I'm using the bones, I'm using the scraps, and I'm making stock. So it's pretty cool, I think, getting the most bang for your buck out of everything you buy. And if you want to learn how to make your own stock, I have veggie stock and chicken stock videos. I'll link to them below. I'm adding some spices too. I added thyme and dill. You can also add a bay leaf, you can add whole chunks of garlic, but again, we're on a budget. Didn't have room for garlic in this budget meal prep. So then once the stock was done, we're adding onions and chicken to the pot. We're gonna just cook the chicken really quick. Technically, you could boil the chicken in the broth, but I wanted to just do it this way. There's more than one way to make chicken soup. Once the chicken is cooked through, we can add the broth back and all the vegetables and pasta and all that stuff. So I kind of cheated. I used celery and carrots in this soup that were stuck in my freezer for months. I'm moving, so I'm just trying to get stuff out of my freezer, and that's why I did that, but you can just do this with onions and it's fine. And there are frozen veggies again. I want you to notice how we're using these frozen veggies in multiple meals, and we're still getting a lot of different variety. There is nothing wrong with frozen vegetables. If that's all you can fit in your budget, it's better than nothing. And that's it. That's a soup. This lasts for a good 3 to 4 days in the fridge, and it can be frozen as well. Next up, we have our vegan lentil minestrone. So here's our frozen vegetables again. We have carrots. We've got our pasta again. Gotta stretch those ingredients. Canned diced tomatoes, lentils, and an onion. This is a very easy soup recipe, and I absolutely love the flavor of this. This is probably one of my favorite soups. So we're just starting off really easy with oil, our onions. We're gonna just cook up and saute the veggies, get the flavor out of them a little bit. Then we're kind of just going to build from there. So I want you guys to notice that we are using the frozen vegetables and pasta in multiple meals, really overlapping these ingredients, but still getting variety. It's like you can think just a little bit out of the box, and then you're not being repetitive. We're adding mostly the juice from the can of tomatoes. I split that 28-ounce can of tomatoes between 2 meals, this one and the next one you'll see. If you have a can of tomato sauce or crushed tomatoes, you can also throw that in there, but that did not fit our budget. So I'm just adding water and some of that tomato juice from the can, and that's about it. I think tomato paste would be great in here too to thicken it up, but again, we're working on a budget. And now we're adding the lentils. So depending on the color of the lentils, it can take anywhere from 10 minutes to 25 minutes to cook. These are green lentils and they take about 15 minutes. I'm also adding some oregano, and we're basically just gonna cook the lentils right in the soup, and then we'll add the pasta and let that cook. We like mushy lentils in our house, so we let them overcook for sure, but again, lentils are easy. You just taste them to see if they're done and kind of go from there. You can use any pasta you want, by the way, for this. We're using egg noodles. That was the cheapest one I can find. But you can use shells, macaroni elbows is a popular choice, rotini, whatever you find that's within your budget or that you like. Gluten-free pasta would absolutely work for this too. And that's it. That's the soup. You want to taste and adjust seasonings. We're adding frozen veggies last because you don't want them to get too mushy. They definitely have that mushy texture if they're overcooked, so we're adding them last. And now we're just putting them in the containers. So one thing to note with soup that has pasta in it is that the pasta will suck up a lot of the water overnight. So you may want to add a little bit of extra water when you're meal prepping soup with pasta so that you avoid that issue. We're also freezing some in super cubes. I'll link to them in the description. They're great for freezing pretty much anything you can possibly freeze. One more meal to go. This is the sweet potato black bean skillet. It's one of the first meals I ever learned how to meal prep. We've got sweet potatoes, corn, our tomatoes again. We're just using the tomatoes this time, not the juice. Black beans. And that's really it. Oh, I did not add spinach, by the way, to this, but you can totally add kale or anything green. I didn't end up adding spinach though. So we're just cooking the sweet potatoes first because they take the longest. I'm adding some oil here, and I'm using cinnamon and cumin for the spices. Cinnamon on sweet potatoes is like the best tasting thing ever. It's my favorite way to do it, so if you haven't tried it yet, I hope this inspires you to try it. And once those are cooked, we kind of just add the rest of the ingredients from there. If you wanted to add meat to this, you could do like a ground turkey, ground chicken, ground beef situation, or just chicken breast would be great, but this is a vegetarian meal and it's vegan if you don't add cheese, which I did. I did add cheese at the end. Also, you can use pinto beans, you can use chickpeas, whatever kind of legume you like. And normally I'd probably use fresh tomato, but we're using the remaining tomatoes from the can. We're adding some salt and pepper, more cumin. You know, I like to add something green, so I ended up adding green onions to this meal. That's just what I had left over. I had some growing on the windowsill, like many of us are during Corona times. And I also added some leftover cheese. But yeah, this is a very easy meal to make. You just kind of cook everything through, add your toppings, and you're good to go. This would be a great filling for burritos, tacos, enchiladas. If you wanted to make a frittata out of this, that'd be great. It's very versatile, and it's seriously one of my favorite things. I'm always in the mood for this. And that's it. This lasts for 3 to 4 days in the fridge, and it's not freezer friendly. Things with potatoes can be tricky in the freezer just in general, so keep that in mind. And you can reheat it on the stove or in the microwave. Alright guys, that's it. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments. I love answering questions. By the way, you can get access to all of these recipes and a meal plan and a grocery list in the description below. I have a link to it, so go check that out if you really need help in the kitchen and you want help and guidance actually doing meal prep, not just talking about it, not just watching videos, but really doing it. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your way out, and I will see you next time. Thanks again for watching.